Well, we have some people who have written in for questions, as they always have, and the first one is Mark in Saigon, which I've actually been
Uh-oh.
to and so
Yes,
have
I
you.
have. Yep, I've
We
been there. So what do you say?
Well, it's funny, we've both been Saigon in different decades and for different reasons. Hi guys, love the podcast. Given all the talk recently of booking, I'd be interested in hearing what you think the requirements are for being a good booker and who you would consider to be/have been one.
Well, anybody, and I've actually thought about this question. Anybody can be a booker. Anybody. If you get somebody said, okay, you're the booker, you could be 14 years old and you can be a booker. And you said, all right, this is the first thing we're going to do. Dutch, you're working with James. So tonight, I want you to go in there and hit him in the head with a 2x4 and leave him laying. Okay, boom. That's it. That's an angle. But the next week, he's thinking, oh, now what do we got to do to follow up on that? It's not the first step, it's the second step. So I go in the ring and you say, okay, James, tonight Dutch is in a match. I want you to go in the ring and hit him in the head like he did you last week with a 2x4 and leave him laying. But now, guess where we are? We're back where we started. But that is booking. So the third week, we guys have a match and it's a double pull apart. We're still like where we were. Nothing has advanced. So, and then the fourth week, they put us in like street fight or whatever, but they've already seen it. But I mean, anybody can be a booker. It's the artistry behind the booking is what counts. So, and I think we talked last week about the angle between Matt, two names, Matt Riddle and Seth Rollins. And if you told me in the email that I have been advocating, I like that word, advocating for this approach for months. And I have. They told a story. And now, if creative doesn't get too aggressive and let it take its own natural course, because they book from pay per view to pay per view, basically. So the pay per view being the big show, what used to be what we would say a big show, we didn't have pay per view years ago. We just went to a bigger building. So that was an upgrade. We could draw more people. We could make more money. That's what a pay per view is. And now they're booking like that, which makes sense. Now, where did I learn booking making sense and telling a story? Well, from Jerry Jarrett is one. He was the old Memphis booker, and he learned it from somebody too. He learned it from one of the Fullers who owned the territory years before. And then Jerry Lawler took over, and I watched him too. It was a different style of booking, but both were successful. Like in Memphis, especially, Lawler would book 6 months and Jarrett would book 6 months, which I thought was really a beautiful thing because they didn't have time to burn out. I mean, they had the same talent. All they did was just step in. And Lawler liked to book in the spring and summer. You know why?
No.
It's not football season.
Oh.
He's a huge Cleveland Browns football fan, so he don't want to be bothered with booking and trying to run a territory during football season. He was too busy following the Cleveland Browns. And I learned a lot from Jerry Jarrett. I learned a lot from Lawler because he learned it from Jerry. I learned a lot from an old time booker named Tom Renesto, who was one of the original assassins, who I was his driver. And we would ride up and down the road, a brilliant man. I would talk to him, great talker. And he would tell me, I mean, he didn't teach me this, and this. He would just talk. And I would have to piece in the pieces. I knew what he was talking about. Eddie Graham's another, and I think we covered this last week, or some great bookers. Bill Watts. Bill Dundee is a good booker. And Ken Mantell, who's I'm not related to. He's the one who got Texas up and moving.
You know how many questions I get? Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt. You know how many questions I get asking if you're related to Ken Mantell?
Really?
Yeah, that's like the most asked question I receive. I never ask it you.
Well, I'm not related to him. And to add to that answer, he's called a plastic brother. See what I mean? I'm not really related to him, but it's a name.
Yeah.
A plastic brother. So, but I'm not related to him. I'm not related to, actually, Mantell's not even my name, and Mantell's not even his name. His real name is Ken Lusk. And my name is not Mantell. So we both got the names from I don't know where he got the name. But I'm going back to booking, but Eddie Graham was a great booker. George Scott was a great booker. And there's probably been a few more. Buddy and Ron Fuller, great bookers. But I think booking is not necessarily learned, as it's like breathed. You breathe it. You kind of understand it automatically. It's storytelling and using live play figures. It's what it is. And back in the days when I was actively wrestling, if a booker gave me an interview, he wouldn't tell me to say this, and this. He'd say, you're working with James Monday in a certain type of match. Go out there and sell some tickets. That's what he'd say. And I'd go out there and it would be my promo about you, and I would make it as personal as I could. Then if you'd listen to it, you'd have to answer it. And then we'd do it like that. We did it the old time way. And I've never heard of a school I've heard of a wrestling school. I've never heard of a booking school because there is no such place. You can learn, it's like creative writing. If you can write, you can write. You can make grammatical mistakes and spelling mistakes. But if you tell a good story, people overlook that. In their head, they're envisioning your story that you're telling, which is the same way with wrestling. You're just using live characters and a TV screen to tell your story. Mm-hmm. So booking is not that hard. It's common sense, basically. Tom Ernesto used to tell me years ago, it's common sense. Don't do anything too far advanced for your audience, and make it so a 10-year-old kid can understand it. Then you got a good story.
And the difference, very quickly, the difference between a booker and a writer is?
Oh, tons. A writer writes for a specific segment on TV. Writers aren't bookers. Bookers say, okay, we're doing an angle between Dutch and James. We need an interview for James out here. He's going to face Dutch in some kind of match. Well, the writer, he pencils that out. It's the shits. You could do much better on your own, which is what I think Triple H is going to do now. He's going to let guys more or less, like free rap. You know what free rap is?
Freestyle.
Yeah, freestyle. He's going to freestyle the interview because they're not doing it live most of the time anyway. They're doing it in the back. So let them free rap it and see what happens. It can't be any worse than what some of those writers come up with. These writers don't even understand wrestling. They don't even understand being in a fight. And they don't understand this character would say this, but this character would say that. See, what I used to bitch all the time about, not bitch, like out in the middle of the hallway screaming. I said, give me the same writer every week. And no, because Vince disagreed with that. Because he said, if a writer can write for me, he can write for Kane too, or he can write for Undertaker, or he can write. No, he can't. It's a different mindset, especially my character. I mean, you could kind of get Kane's character, and you can kind of get Undertaker's character, what they will say and what they won't say. They're not men of words. They're men of actions. So, but Rock used to tell them, I'm not doing this. Or Stone Cold, I'm not doing this. That's not me. And they'd go to Vince. Of course, Vince is going to agree with them. And I don't know why a writer would subject himself to coming into a test of who's right and who's wrong with The Rock on one hand and Stone Cold on the other. Who's going to win? The money, people that are drawing the money, not the writers. They're expendable. Hell, they could walk out the door right now. But Rock and Stone Cold, no, they can't. So, but the writers, if you had the same one kind of writing, and all you need to write for these guys They write for themselves. They do these interviews all day long in their heads, driving to the town, going to the town, in the rooms. They're doing an interview in their head. How am I going to get this rock? What should I say here? And they get it. They get in front of a mirror. You can tell Rock, he's in front of a mirror. He's doing it because they understood that we're entertainers. I mean, we're physical entertainers. There's no other business like it in the world. See, stuntmen, they get multiple takes. We don't. We get one take, and if it don't work, well, it just looks like crap. And if it looks like crap, it's up to one of the performers to immediately seize that it looked like crap and keep going. It's a unique business, but a booker, getting back to my point, a booker lays the timeline out. He said, I want this to start here, and I want to kind of wrap it up at the pay-per-view. Except I never did that. I would take it at the start, and I would put a big match here, look like it's wrapping up, but it didn't wrap up. I kept talking about it, and then I would leave it alone for 2 weeks and come back to it. Because I always found out one thing, fans do not forget. Why would you go from a sellout? These two guys sold out, and you had a finish, kind of ended it, but they're still interested in it. So why not restart it again and milk it for everything it's worth? And the fans will tell you when they're done with it. So just listen to the fans. Anyway, that's my theory.